I'm Pat Higgins, creator of the COVIDIOT Files, and you're listening to the True North Country Comics Podcast.
Welcome to a special edition of the True North Country Comics Podcast, dedicated to promote Canadian comic book creators and supporters. It's June 3rd, 2021. I'm John Swinimer. If you want to drop me a line, you can contact me at john@truenorthcountrycomics.com. These podcasts are published to celebrate the exhibitors of this year's virtual edition of the Toronto Comic Arts Festival. TCAF is an annual event gathering comic book creators from around the world to promote broad and diverse voices towards a betterment of the medium of comics through panels, keynote exclusives, and just basically enjoying the fun of comics. On this episode, I chat with Pat Higgins about the COVIDIOT Files and more at TCAF 2021. This podcast is available on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. It's also available on the True North Country Comics channel on YouTube. I invite you to like and subscribe. Pat is an award-winning illustrator, cartoonist, and graphic designer from Delaware. Throughout his career, he has had the opportunity to work for a wide variety of clients and agencies, both in-house and as a freelancer. In addition to client work, Pat has led workshops and showed his work in galleries across the United States. He also co-hosts the monthly Oddball Art Hall in Wilmington, Delaware, and is a member of the National Cartoonist Society. Pat's recent books include The COVIDIOT Files, The Family, The Shipwreck of Captain McNamara, Elroy's Big Adventure, and The Android's Bewildering Conflict. And so, without further ado, here's my chat with Pat Higgins about the COVIDIOT Files and more at TCAF 2021. So, Pat Higgins, thank you very much for taking time to chat with me.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate your time. What I normally do to start off the interview is ask the creator about their first comic book. So I'm wondering if you remember, what was the first comic book that you read?
The first one that really sticks out for me was a Tales from the Crypt collection.
Oh, okay.
I picked that up from a book fair at school, and that really sucked me in and got me hooked.
I bet. Yeah, that's for sure. That's a good influence. But wondering who or what influences your work today?
I would say a lot of different stuff. I read so many different things. A lot of Daniel Klaus, Charles Burns. I've been reading I just picked up the Ed Piskor Red Room. Have you checked that one out yet?
I've heard of it, yeah. Is it pretty good?
It's cool. It's a fun, gory horror comic. It's really cool.
Yeah. Good. There you go. So we're here talking under the context of the Toronto Comic Arts Festival. So with that in mind, I'm wondering if you have any past convention or festival moments that you'd like to share. Any favorite ones?
None in particular. But SPX is that's my favorite one by far that I've actually been to. I've never been to TCAF, but I imagine it's equally great.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about SPX. What's the main draw? Is there just being in the company of other creators? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think that's part of it, and it's less of the cosplay celebrity end of Comic Cons and more into the actual comics,
Right. Yeah, people who just love sharing the illustrated book, I guess you could say, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's very, very comics focused, very creator focused. Really good convention. I've always found really good books there.
Neat. That's good stuff. Yeah, one day I'll get out there, that's for sure. So I was wondering if we could talk a bit about what you exhibited at TCAF. Maybe you could talk about the book and maybe the origins of the project as well. Sure.
The main one that I was exhibiting was called the COVIDIOT Files and Other True Tales of Terror from 2020. The origins of that was last year. I started doing a series of political cartoons called the COVIDIOT Files. Kind of centered around, everything that was going on last year. We had a little bit of a busy year with a lot of interesting things happening.
Yeah, just to say the least, yes.
Yeah, so it was kind of a lot of social commentary on that, and then there were a few from this year that made it into that book. And what spawned the book was I was having a lot of fun doing the cartoons, and I ended up winning a couple awards for those cartoons, and I decided to keep the ball rolling and make a book out of them.
That's great. But you've done other projects like that in the past. This isn't your first one, I'm sure.
No, yeah, I've done. That was actually the first nonfiction comic that I've done.
Mm-hmm.
Although it was, not fully nonfiction, kind of
Right.
stretching the reality a little bit, but
Sure.
yeah,
I
most of
noticed.
my other stuff has been fiction.
Right, right. I know. So I was looking at your bio here that you're part of the National Cartoonist Society, and I know there aren't. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with that. I wonder if you just explain what that's all about.
The National Cartoonist Society. It's a. I actually think there's members from other countries and stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an organization. Sorry, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe
Okay,
it.
that's okay. You don't have to worry about it. I'll cut that out. But I was just curious because I've seen other folks luminaries part of that, so it's a very unique society to be part of. Anyway, let's not go
Yeah,
down that road.
I don't want to
Yeah,
misrepresent it and
yeah,
say
yeah,
something
yeah, yeah. No
wrong
worries.
about it. I'm sorry.
No, that's my fault for bringing it up. Okay, no worries.
I could
Okay.
uh I could always look up their
No,
website real quick for
no. That's I didn't expect you to do that. Please don't worry about it.
okay. Okay.
Want to switch gears a bit and talk about the tools that you use to create your art. Maybe you could walk me through your workflow and the tools that you use.
Sure. The majority of my stuff I use Clip Studio,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll either do that on my Surface Book or my iPad, just depending on where I'm at, which one's closer, whatever. And I start pretty much everything the same with doing research on whatever it is that I'm working on, and from there I'll go to thumbnails, tighten that up, pencils, tighten that up, and then I'll ink, color, and then lately I've been adding some kind of paper texture or something to it in the end, and I usually do that in Photoshop.
Ah, okay. I was going to ask that it's kind of unusual to hear someone using both the Surface and the iPad Pro. Do you have a preference? Is one better than the other?
Um, they're they're different but equal. The iPad Pro is nice just because it's like small, compact. I take that everywhere. The Surface Book, I've got the bigger one,
Mm-hmm.
so it's got a couple of pros and cons to it. It's got the 15-inch screen, which is nice, and it's also got a graphics card in it. It's got the real laptop keyboard, um, but then it's also it's a little heavier to carry around, a little
Mm-hmm.
bigger.
Right.
But it also does run full Adobe programs.
Ah, okay. That's the crux of the matter right there. So if you
Yeah,
need your full suite of software, that's the one you go to.
right. So if I'm doing any kind of work in Illustrator or Photoshop, it's the Surface Book's a must.
Right. Very good. Very good. I noticed in your bio that you've conducted workshops in the past. I'm wondering if you could talk a bit about those.
Yeah, so I've done a couple different workshops. I've done workshops on making mini comics, just kind of going through the process of making a mini comic, and we do that in the over the course of the workshop. I've also done children's workshops for summer camps and libraries, where we take a week and we create a comic together. Everybody creates their own comic. I've also done some color workshops about color theory and how it fits into my work. Yeah, and that's
Very
always
good.
it's fun because it kind of when I'm doing it, I kind of learn more about my process as I'm doing it.
Ah, okay.
Kind of makes me think a little more.
Sure, sure. Well, that leads me into my next question. With all these workshops that you've given, I'm sure you've interacted with a lot of people, and certainly when you go to a festival or convention, it's people coming up and asking for advice. So I'm wondering, what one piece of advice would you give to someone who wants to make their own comic book or graphic novel?
I would say just make it. That's the best advice I can give. Because I've talked to a lot of people that just say they don't have time, and you just make the time. Make an hour a day if that's all you got. Even 15 minutes a day if that's what you got. Just go ahead and make it.
Very good. That's good advice for sure. So you've talked about COVIDIOT Files, the book, and I'm wondering what's next for you. What's your next big project you have on the go?
Next, I'm currently working on a book called Pulp Bites for Scout Comics, and that's one that I pitched to them earlier this year, and now I'm working on it. We're gonna put it out later in 2021, I hope. Oh,
very good. Can you talk a bit about the storyline, or is it still too early?
No, it's the first issue's all squared away story wise. So the first issue, and I guess each subsequent issue, they're all standalone books. And the first one is it's got 3 standalone stories, and it's short horror stories, and the whole, I think it's 28 pages of story in that first issue, and 3 separate stories. It's kind of a sci-fi horror. I would compare it to like Black Mirror, Twilight Zone, Tales from the Crypt, that kind of thing.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, good stuff. So one of the other things that not only at festivals and conventions do you network and talk to people, but it's also about buying books. So I'm wondering where you recommend people go to buy your books.
They can buy my books at pat-higgins.com. And that's also my portfolio website. But I've got all my stuff available there. And then later this year, check the Scout Comics website for Pulp Bites.
Very good. And wondering where you'd recommend people go online to find out more about you.
Pat-higgins.com, or you can check Instagram, and I'm at phiggins80.
Thanks to Pat for the chat. You can discover more about Pat on Twitter at Higgins Media, on Instagram at phiggins80, and online at pat-higgins.com. And thanks to you for listening to the True North Country Comics podcast. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to and like this podcast on Apple Podcasts, and please leave a good rating. Also check out the TrueNorthCountryComics.com website and follow along on Twitter at True North Comics. True North Country Comics is now on YouTube. Please like and subscribe to that video channel. Please send your feedback to John at TrueNorthCountryComics.com. Thanks again for listening, and come back soon for another episode. Bye for now. True North Country Comics Podcast is copyright True North Country Comics, copyright 2021.